Man, what a week. Incredible week up in Heber, the Legacy Ranch once again. It was our third time up there, our 5th annual summit for Junto. I'm on fire, man. I'm motivated. I'm inspired. I learned a ton. How about you?
Dude, I am as well. It has been, it's been a lot playing catch up since and processing all the awesome information and connection that we had up there. Now we're getting ready to head back up to the mountains to get a little more downtime and really debrief on the weekend. So I'm on fire as well and super excited.
Yeah, me too. We learned a ton. We had Zanzibar kind of facilitate. He did a little bit less than he usually does, but still does not change how amazing the content was. We changed it up a little bit. We added a little bit more time for connection, camaraderie, and a little bit of free time. To just kind of hang out with each other and develop the relationship a little bit stronger. But I did want to kick it off. We were reminded of what the Junto man is. And for the listeners, we came up with this statement last year. And to kick off our summit this year, we repeated it again. And so just to let the listeners know kind of what we're all about, the Junto man is loyal to family, to purpose, and to one another, a leader of industry and community, bound by honor, driven by growth, grounded in humility, accountable for our word, truly a man worth following. And that is what we try to embody every single day. And being in a group of 20 plus guys that are all striving for similar goals and successes and happiness, and to be better husbands, better fathers, better people, men in the community. It's really important to have this circle. And, I don't know about you, but I lean in wholeheartedly and I go full out to tap into these guys. And, it's a way to be vulnerable, transparent, and just kind of learn and grow from each other. And blessed and very grateful to be part of the group.
Absolutely. And it's funny, as you were reading that, I was looking down because I've got that staring back at me from a really nice framed picture that has it written out that we still don't know. Yeah, there it is.
Right there, right behind me.
We still don't know who put that gift together unless you do. But
no, total mystery. I have no idea.
That secret assassin is hilarious to me. But I also thought it was, we worked on that last year, getting out the who we are and making sure that was crystal clear. And I think this year, to your point on the connection and how we broke up the sessions, one of the biggest things that's always evident to me in the group, and it comes out more at that summit when we're together for 3 days straight. You can't really hide after all those conversations, but like the amount of challenges that everyone's going through at every level, the guys that you think have it all figured out, when you start opening up, everyone is fighting a battle that you don't know about. And to be able to level there and just honestly be present, maybe provide some insight if you have it, but just to freaking listen to some things that we're not, you're not going to just share with everybody or don't feel like you can. So I thought that was a key insight. And the other piece about the way that you and the design team structured the sessions that I liked is that we still had a ton of knowledge come through, but it was like more condensed. We made more of the time in some specific deep dives, and then that allowed to create some space for us to actually debrief it and talk with each other about it.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I can't take much of the credit of the agenda. That was all about our man of the year, Andy Parnell, who led the design team this year. He won the Man of the Year award. It's a really cool award. I mean, it's an anonymous vote. Everyone votes, and he, majority kind of wins type of deal. But it's really special when, you see guys win those. You won it last year. He put an amazing agenda together, him and Zanzibar, and all the content and everything, the guest speakers that we had come in. But I just wanted to highlight Andy and that Man of the Year award and how we go around the table. There's 20 guys. You said a little something to kick it off, kind of like the green jacket, passing it down from last year to this year. We have a brown apron from like the Benjamin Franklin days with a little pin that's engraved, and you kind of took that project on to make sure that was done right. And you kicked it off, and then every guy went around the room and just said a little piece of, how much they appreciated Andy and the year that he put together and the amount of work that he puts in. I mean, it's a volunteer job. We all pay dues, but the lead designer doesn't get any sort of discount or isn't paid for that, and just kind of takes it upon himself to create impactful sessions month in and month out. And then also with the help of others putting together the design team. But it's not to get in. It is a bit of you got to be there to see it. We do have some confidentiality stuff going on, but it was just a really special moment for him, and it was a special moment for all of us just to kind of witness everybody talking about him and the emotions tied to that. It was incredible, and that's one of the other pieces I love about the group is no one's shying away from speaking their mind and really leaning in and making someone feel special.
Absolutely. It's a group that really supports each other. It's not a status there's plenty of ego in the room, but we check it at the door for almost
100%. You got guys in there. It's like the room that you're in, it's just like, holy moly. Sometimes you look around and you're like, how did I get here? But you're right. There is no ego. A bunch of alpha males, but everyone's in it, equal vested partners. And it's really cool.
Absolutely. I guess like we said, I wanted to be able to talk through some of this stuff. We do have a kind of a confidentiality agreement within the group, but there's plenty of stuff that we can talk about that came up that we can share. That's just great for the listeners. And I think one of the best reframes is everyone is encapsulated by artificial intelligence. Yeah. And we had a great session with Aaron from my home group. That what I loved is reframing the idea of artificial intelligence versus automation. And this applies not only in business, but in your life. What can you automate? And then back to your wheel of expertise, that goes back to systems and processes. And then you take those systems and processes and then find a technology that matches it to automate, not necessarily make your human intelligence artificial, but automating to make sure if one task happens, an outcome is produced without any additional effort. And I thought that was a great concept and can reframe of, am I using AI for every single piece of my life or my business? What can I do to just automate as step one, which we've been doing in business for...
something as simple, just to give you a real simple example, like setting an out of office on your Outlook, right? Yeah, an email comes in and it automatically sends an email back. That's the automation. So how does AI make a play? What's the difference between automation and AI? And that was really cool to kind of get the differences because a lot of people are like, oh, that's AI. I was like, no, that's just automation.
Yeah, simple workflows, templates. If A happens, then B happens. Not rocket science, but it helps reframe. Everyone that's trying to dive in and use AI for everything, you can't put your head in the sand on it. You definitely need to educate, and it is with us to stay. But how about automation first? Like making sure that each of that, when we talk about the phases of entrepreneurship, making sure that we've got everything automated that we can before you start trying to build something that's going to fully be agentic and honestly replace human capital. So I thought that was a really good session, just art of the possible. We talked about taking notes through it. It was really more of a working exercise, more specifically building out the systems and processes, but got my wheels turning on some things that I could automate.
Yeah, definitely learned about some new tools that can be used. But I think the theme was AI still isn't quite there to replace a lot of things you think it might replace, like setting up automation and processes and systems and all of that good stuff. Like that still takes people and intelligence and putting all of those processes together to find the right tools and resources to make it happen. And the AI piece is really, really good at like deep research or content generation or things like that right now. Replacing the human element is just, that was kind of the theme, is it's not going to be possible and it still won't. And those that are using it for solely that are going to fall behind. It's making sure you're marrying the two, between automation, AI, and the person operating all of the systems and processes. So the theme was be up to snuff on what's going on in the technology world, and don't shy away from it because it is coming and it's already here and it's rapidly improving. And but that was nice to hear some of the tools that some of the guys are using. Also hearing from our speaker some of the tools that he shared with us that we can start using, and not being afraid of it, and really just leveraging it and finding the right place in your business for it to make sense. Also in your personal life. We use ChatGPT for all sorts of personal matters as well. You can train, you can train custom GPTs or bots or whatever to, be the person or AI person that you want it to be, and ask questions and learn from it. And so I think there's really neat ways to continue to improve leveraging some of that stuff for sure.
100%. And I think that on that same aspect of what cannot be replaced as we think about this, and you're hearing everywhere, what everything can be replaced by AI. The sessions about developing people and leadership.
Yes.
We're really big on that because, you can make the argument that leadership can't be replaced and it's going to be a CEO with a bunch of bots, but there's a lot of an agentic AI, but there are a lot of people saying, even a CEO can be replaced once they're agentic and the artificial intelligence has the grasp of every area of the business and can pull from every report in real time. Even a CEO can be replaced, but the human element of a business and the way we deep dove into developing people, leadership versus management, Zanzibar just gave a great refresher on things that I think a lot of us know, but in practice, it's totally different once you get into the day-to-day of a business. And when he, mentioning things like, you really are there to inspire, but it's not the flowery inspiration in what you say. It is what you do and the questions you ask and the ability to put yourself in other people's shoes and look at their perspective from the business to get them to the outcomes that we're all moving toward. And I thought he just has a great way of breaking that down simply, but also refreshing concepts that we might miss in our day-to-day.
Yeah, it was a fantastic sequel to what, follow up from last year's summit, where last year was all about management and stages of entrepreneurship and things like that. And so the leadership piece, you're right. It's creating inspired action. It's not saying, I'm going to motivate you and then, you're off on your way and being the guy on stage and sending all these cool quotes and things like that. No, it's about getting inspired action, getting buy-in from your team. And he made it very clear distinction that anyone has the ability to become a leader, but not everyone has the ability to become a manager. And so being a leader is what he said. This is the definition of what leadership is. This is what we wrote down. So leadership is the art of accomplishing more than the science of management says is possible. Meaning if you can manage people, not everyone can do it, but if you can get them to do the right things all the time, more often than not, and you give them the right skills and the right tools and resources to do their job well, leadership takes it another step further in saying, okay, this is what's possible. I've given you the tools, I've given you the ability, but I'm saying that we can accomplish more than this because of how I'm leading inspired action and getting buy-in with sharing the vision of the organization and why your role matters and why this task that I'm asking you to do matters. And I'm not asking you to do things that I'm not doing myself or haven't done myself, right? And that was another big piece of it is I'm not just instructing and delegating just to be a boss or whatever. It's like, I've done these things. I've seen these things. This is what moves the needle forward. And we're going to create things. We're going to try new things. And we're going to do, this is what I think will be best because of the direction we want to go. And you're a big piece of that. And so that's kind of what he was saying was leadership. And it was really cool to hear some of the other guys and sharing their stories and how they lead their teams. Because some guys got some big teams and they're leading leaders who are leading other teams, which is really cool to kind of see that those different levels play out.
Absolutely. I think that was Colin Powell quote that was, in Zanzibar's opinion, the best definition. And I love it as well. Right. And one of the concepts that really hit home and applies not only to leading a team in business or whether you're an educator or in your household, the concept of I see you powerfully. That really hit me on like my flat kind of matrix team. We're so geared toward outcomes that it is so important to make people feel and see that you view them as sovereign individuals that are powerful in their own right. And there was a concept used, within your family, making that feeling notice. And I'm like, that was a big slap in the face, a bamboo banger during the conference that I wrote down and circled, because I think it goes a long way. And I think that ties back to what we did going around the circle with Parnell, giving examples on how he's led the group, that we saw him powerfully this year because he was taking on the reins and helping guide us through 2025.
Yeah, that was a great takeaway. And I think what was one of my favorite takeaways about leadership is that you are the conduit. You are the one that is being aware of your team and paying attention to what matters and leading from where they're at. It has nothing to do with you as the leader. It's all about the overall big picture. And you're a conduit filtering out everything that goes to them, figuring out where they're at and leading from there as that foundation, because every single person in your team is coming from a different place. And so it was really, really important for me to hear and get reminded of, like, everyone's in a different spot in life, in their career, in their personal life, whatever, and just paying attention and listening to what matters most to them and figuring out how you can lead from their foundation to the career goals that they have. And so one of the things that Zanzibar said that I wrote down was, developing people is altering the world that occurs for them, that leaves them more competent, able, certain, and, as you mentioned earlier, powerful. And so I think it's super inspiring to hear these words and putting it all together when you are a leader and you have these teams, to just be reminded of, like, hey, we're all in this together, but it's very much a big ship that we're moving, but we can be agile and we can develop our teams to become leaders themselves. And we can do it and be that conduit to have everything filter through us and flow through us onto them, to then eventually build them up to be the unicorns that we all want on our teams to then eventually lead others. And so I think that was a really neat reminder and a cool goal for, I think, any leader or any business owner or any sales leader out there that has teams of people that they're managing.
100%. And right along on that, with as you are, directing your team or your household, I loved that he mentioned it. We double clicked on, nothing you say about you is what matters to you.
Say that again.
Nothing that you say about you is what matters to you.
Yes.
If you are going around talking about how you lead, what achievements you have, you really don't feel that. That's usually out of a space of lack. And I think it's just about the fact that you're using the term say, it's not about talk. It's what actions you are taking consistently that is stacking that evidence and proof. And then I loved how the conversation went to, and surprised Z wasn't really familiar with Jocko, but for the umpteenth time on this podcast, shout out Jim Stevens, friend of the pod, jumped on and said, are you referring to Jocko with extreme ownership? And that's where I went. And I actually shot a message to my godmother and aunt about, thank you for giving that concept of extreme ownership early, that everything in your life, I don't care what bad luck has come your way, you can map it out to taking ownership. And there's a lot of sovereignty and freedom when you start taking ownership for everything in your life. And I do think that's something that's missing. It's pretty easy to start passing blame or talking about external factors when, at the end of the day, really, it's the team you put around you, but life's a solo game when it comes to your decisions, which are the sum of your results. Yeah, exactly. And I think it leads a good transition into external factors in the marketplace and value proposition. We touched back on value prop and piggybacked off of last year a little bit, but how do you differentiate yourself if you're a business owner? How do you develop the value proposition? And I think what was eye-opening is, like, it doesn't matter how good you think you are. Your value prop could be on paper the most amazing thing in the world, but whatever that customer's experience is like to them, that's your value prop. So if they think you suck or the process sucked, even though you thought you knocked it out of the park, your value proposition is exactly what they thought of that process. And so I think it was neat to be reminded of, hey, every single process, every single interaction you have, going above and beyond 3 steps instead of 1, really putting yourself in the client's or customer's shoes and wowing them to the nth degree to differentiate yourself from the marketplace. And so he gave you three factors that help you build out a value prop. And one is solving the pain points of your industry, being head and shoulders better at anything that you're expected to do. So if you're telling the client that this is what's going to happen and this is what you can expect of me, being head and shoulders better than what they expect or of what the industry calls for, right? Whether it's real estate or business services or whatever, if there's a standard, being head and shoulders better than that standard, and then invent things that are unexpected. So what's something, a new wrinkle in a process that you can give that the client's not expecting and they're raving about you. And he says that if you can rate yourself a 10
in value prop. That means you got 95% of your customers are raving about you unprovoked. You're not asking them for testimonials. They're just doing that. And the example you gave was the dentist office, which I thought was really cool, which I know a dentist locally in my BNI group. He does this. He does this spa-like experience where you go to the dentist and no one loves going to the dentist. But how did he was talking about one of his clients, Zanzibar was, but how they built out a spa-like experience where you get a warm towel, you get a nice drink, and it's all tailored to the client. You have foot massages and all that, and it cost him like next to nothing. But his business, the dental office, grew like, what do you say, like 10x in 3 months or something, which is pretty incredible. And it's funny now that I'm talking about it. There's a guy in my BNI group that our dentist does the same thing. He just gave his presentation. So shout out to Fadi, Dr. Fadi, for sharing that, because you're way ahead of the game, my man. But it was cool. It was definitely neat.
Absolutely. Those are awesome, great concepts. And realizing that how the term that Z uses, and we're all using a lot now, repetition and consciousness equals skill. Going over these concepts for 3 years and still needing to take down notes and really drive it home was eye-opening. Well, dude, I think the last thing I want to drive home is or learning for me is, God, I need sleep. You get into some of those conversations and good conversations and a fun poker game, and man, and rising early to make sure that we got the ruck in and that we're starting refreshing on time. I cut the sleep short, and I'm in a little bit of a deficit. So that was a big driving home. I need my sleep.
Yeah, it was. There was some late nights, and what was good is it wasn't like late nights like the old days where it was late nights with a bunch of booze. It wasn't really like that at all. It's just up and having great conversation. But yeah, speaking of the ruck, and you gave a session which was awesome on day 2. Got some breath work in and really set the tone for day 2 being outside. It was beautiful weather up there. But we can't not finish the pod without talking about the Super 6 Summit Challenge.
Super 6 Summit Challenge. The
Super 6. So we had this idea of connection and camaraderie. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to do a lot of professional classroom type work on ourselves. Why don't we got a bunch of competitors in the room. Why don't we create this whole fun backyard game style 6 events, decathlon-esque, if you will. We have random partners, draw for partners for each event. There was one individual event, which was just show up for the ruck and you get points. And then we ended it with a wiffle ball game championship. And it broke up the day perfectly. I thought it was great. We had like one event in the morning, one in the afternoon, and then one at night, something like a cornhole tournament or things like that. And it came down to a photo finish. Top 3 guys win the prizes. And it came down to a tiebreaker between 3rd and 4th place. And it was neat. It worked out. It was exactly what ESPN would have wanted. And we had some drama, and no one thankfully got injured. And so it was just a fun little wrinkle to add to this year's summit and kind of have some structure with some of the fun activities that we got to do.
It was awesome. And I know you put a lot of work into it. It kept both the competitive nature as well as the accountability for some of the events to make sure everyone was just playing full out, which almost everybody did. It was such a fun, nice touch this year, and it went down to the wire. So we are going to have, especially after this event, some great guests coming up that are in the hopper and scheduled. We're looking forward to bringing those to you, and we'll be back at you next week.